You open this door with the key of reason. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of truth, a dimension of freedom, a dimension of joy. You're moving into the land of both the ideal and the real, of the possible and the actual. You've just crossed over into the Capitalist Corner.
Where reason meets reality, welcome to the Capitalist Corner.
Welcome to the Capitalist Corner, everybody. I am your host, Michael Liebowitz. I'm all by myself today, having been completely abandoned by everybody that's supposed to care about me. But no worries, I will take care of it. I'll get this job done. For the record, there's going to be an Everyday Ethics today at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. There is also going to be a Crime, Corrections, and Culture at 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time. And right now, I've got out on The Rational Egoist, a debate I had with a young PhD student concerning, what the hell was it concerning now? Oh, whether life can properly serve as the standard of value. That wasn't the whole proposition, but that's the gist of it. Go check it out. I think you're really, really going to enjoy that. I'm just typing something here real quick. I'm not going to do it. I'll type afterwards. I'm annoyed. I just got annoyed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be annoyed. So what's happening? I guess we'll start with the war, Persephone. What do you think, Persephone? Is that what I should do, start with the war? I, of course, didn't advertise anything about the merch that you could be checking out. You could be following us on Twitch, going to the website, thecapitalistcorner.org. There's all types of things that you can do that normally somebody else explains. But again, they've abandoned me. So what do you do when you're abandoned, folks? You step up to the plate and you get it done. So let's look at what's in the news today. When it comes to the war, I guess, that's taking place here in Iran, Jenna Kleem says $2 for me. Thank you so much. Here you are. I forgot all about the super chats and super stickers. Yes. So Donald Trump now is once again saying to Iran, the clock is ticking. If Iran doesn't come up with a better offer for a deal, they're going to get hit much harder. Why do I feel like I've been here before? I've heard this before. I'm going to tell you why I've heard it before. And the reason is this. So let me see if I can't find. Okay, so let's just consider March 21st. Trump issued his first major post-war deadline, a 48-hour ultimatum on Truth Social, demanding Iran fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz, threatening to obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first if they did not comply. 48 hours later, the deadline not executed. Trump announced that the U.S. and Iran had enjoyed 2 days of good and productive conversations. On March 28th, the 5-day postponement now expired. Trump put out a mixed statement on March 30th. He celebrated the negotiating progress while simultaneously expanding his threatened bombing if a deal wasn't shortly reached. April 4th, Trump post on Truth Social. Remember when I gave Iran 10 days to make a deal or open up? Time is running out. That's from the Trumpster. The next day on Easter Sunday, Trump said today will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing left. On April 6th, the deadline approached. Trump doubled down in threats. Then on Sunday, pushed the deadline yet again. On April 7th, on the day of his final deadline, Trump declared that a whole civilization will die tonight. But before 8 p.m., before the deadline, he announced he was suspending the bombing and the attack of Iran for a period now of 2 weeks, contingent on Iran agreeing to fully opening the Strait of Hormuz, which, of course, they haven't done yet. On April 21st, Trump says they asked him what would happen if the ceasefire expired. Trump said that he's not under pressure and lots of bombs will be going on. Then Trump on the 21st extended the ceasefire for 3 to 5 days, contingent on Iran delivering a unified proposal. Over and over and over again, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, and he doesn't do it. And then, of course, there's this. There is all the times that, look at this. My Persephone gives us 20 rands or 50 rands. I don't know what that is in American money, but we thank Persephone, and she, of course, is not useless. So anyways, let me just take a look at some things here. So, as early as March 3rd, Persephone's not sick, Jim. She's just skipped out on me because she had some kind of a work meeting or something. Okay, anyways. On March 3rd, President Trump explicitly declared, "We won the war," during a press briefing. On March 7th, he stated, "We defeated Iran." On March 9th, he claimed the war was ending, almost completely and very beautifully. March 11th, he said, "You never like to say too early you won. We won, we won. In the first hour, it was over." March 12th, "We did win, but we haven't won completely yet." March 13th, "We've won the war." The 24th, "This war has been won." April 7th, the administration announced a ceasefire. April 17th, continued the messaging to declare success. Now in May 1st, we've had total military victory coming from Trump. May 11th, the ceasefires on life support. The May 15th, again, claimed total military victory. May 17th, essentially wiped out Iran's armed forces. So he's pivoting from, we are going to wipe them out, we've wiped them out, we're going to win, the war is won. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the, what's the word I'm even looking for here? I don't even have the mental capacity to unravel this nonsense. It's like you're through down the rabbit hole, through the looking glass, and have landed in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, because it's absolutely crazy. And what's even crazier is the people that defend him. So, and then of course we have Lindsey Graham, who says whatever price we have to pay to beat Iran, we will pay it. Of course, old Lindsey never saw a war he didn't support, or a bombing campaign he didn't want to see done. I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't. I mean, when I see even people that are supposed to be rational sticking up for this guy, the clock is ticking, Jim Valiant says. Yes, of course it is. But anyways, clearly, as anybody should have known ahead of time, Trump was not the guy to execute a war. What I mean is this. Even if you had a just cause, a constitutional war, invariably no choice but to go to war for self-preservation, he would not be the guy to do it. That would be, it might be necessary, but it would suck really bad because he's a fucking lying imbecile. Okay, now we had a situation that did not require immediate action. We violated our Constitution. We go to war, and we have the same imbecile, the same liar running things. This is what people ought to have expected. That's what that's the only conclusion I can come to. I've never thought differently. I don't trust government to execute things well anyways, but this guy takes the cake. So here we are now. We're what? Almost 12 weeks into a war that he promised was going to be 4 weeks. We've passed the War Powers Resolution, which I've heard people use as the justification that he didn't need to go to Congress for war, but now that time's passed, and he's done nothing about that. The Iranian people, of course, are not free. Gas prices are through the roof. The military is depleted, and we look like idiots on the world stage. Yeah, that's where we are. Akira Felix says Trump is getting tired of winning the war 15 times since it started. He's a 4D chess master genius. Yeah, that's not exactly what I would use to describe him, but I'm curious, are there people out there in the audience here? Are there folks that are still upholding hope that this is going to turn out well in some shape, form, or fashion? Does anybody believe that this is going to turn out well, and then you're going to be able to say, yes, I'm glad I supported this? Is there anybody? I mean, I know there is. I mean, anybody that's watching this. I know there's people out there that think so, but I'm curious as to what you folks think. Yeah, I seriously doubt that that's going to occur. I was just accused, by the way. This is what got my ire up a little bit. I said something that I think was pretty straightforwardly clear in a Facebook post. And my Facebook expressed disappointment with some prominent, semi-prominent people who identify as objectivists in the positions they take. The positions that I pointed out were denial that taxation is theft, which I've seen was done as recently as today by Keith Weiner. Also, I debated Richard Salzman on the issue. I've heard objectivist David Harriman justify and defend the tariffs. Andy Bernstein, my friend, I debated on whether Trump was a hero. That was the other thing. I've heard objectivists say Trump is a hero. And finally, I've heard objectivists say that it's okay to violate the Constitution because they judge the morality of the war as being worth it. So I put those out there because that's what I'm disappointed in. I'm not disappointed in the philosophy of objectivism by any stretch of the imagination, but those things did disappoint me. So somebody told me that I'm smearing objectivists. How it's a smear when everything I said was correct, I don't know. The woman said to me, "You're not naming names. I've debated them publicly. All of this is out in the open. It's not like it's a secret. I don't know, if she wants a list. I'm certainly not afraid to name names. I just did so. So I don't know. Like I think I don't know. I'm not going to get ahead of my skis right now, but that's what I dealt with this morning. And also in the news, and I don't have it in the headlines. I put the socialism and the anti-Semitism in the headlines, so we can count this as under the more section. So let's back up here. Thousands went to the National Mall in Washington. This is themed the National. Oh, let me back up a little bit. I went way too fast. I'm sorry. There was a drone strike at a nuclear power plant in the United Arab Emirates. Probably was Iran as of this morning. They didn't say it was. It's identified as a terrorist attack. Then there was also this situation where Netanyahu, I guess he claims he went to the UAE in March for private meetings, but he didn't want to keep them private, evidently. There's some interest in, trying to show people that he's getting things done. He's a mover, he's a shaker. So he says that he put it out there that he had this meeting. Now they're denying it because admitting to secret meetings with Israel in that neighborhood is not going to be very good for these folks. So they're saying, no, it didn't happen. Everything we do is out in the open. So why would Netanyahu do that? Like, why would he bring that out there? I mean, I already said why, because it helps him, or at least he thinks it's going to help him politically. I got to tell you, I would not. Well, I guess they're all the same. I was going to say if I were a world, president or whatever, I wouldn't make an agreement with anybody because they all throw you under the bus when push comes to shove. But I guess they would do it too. So they're all like that. But it's not good. It's not cool to do that. You don't have a secret meeting with somebody and then put it out there. Okay. So, any thoughts on that, folks? You are, of course, can freely feel free to comment on it. Ian Gilmore says tax are rights violating. Does that mean they are specifically theft? I'd have to think about that. Well, they are, but the argument went deeper than that. To that, Richard Salzman actually said if you're not paying taxes, you're violating the rights of others. And Ian Gilmore, Keith Weiner is basically defending it. He says, yes, it should be voluntary. It's a convoluted argument he made, but it doesn't matter. The point is there's nothing. I said the four positions that I thought that disappointed me that I've seen numerous objectivists take. I'm not smearing anybody. Those are their actual positions. I don't know that the lady understands what smear means. But anyways, so back to this thing. So they had this meeting, at the National Mall in Washington, National Prayer Day or Rededication Day. J.D. Vance is talking about how prayer is central to America. It just doesn't go away. It's like all the bad stuff. It doesn't go away, and it doesn't matter how many rational arguments are made against it. It doesn't matter how much evidence is there. It's still there. We're going to see later there's still people advocating socialism, communism, wealth redistribution. It doesn't matter how much evidence there is, and it doesn't matter how much evidence there isn't for the idea of God or for the idea that America was founded as a Christian nation. People have learned that, that if they keep repeating something, it will be accepted by some, and they just keep digging in. It's like the 2020 election was stolen, or it's now been proven that COVID was made in a lab. I mean, it's just, you just keep repeating this shit. I don't know how, this is another one of those things. I'm choking. I don't know what goes on in the mind of somebody who does that. Like, look, I was a liar in my life. I was, but I didn't do this. This stuff is just contorting their minds in such a way to promote an idea. Whether, like I said, it be socialism, it be that the war in Iran is going well, that it be that America was founded on religion. I just can't relate. It's like when I do the crime corrections in culture. The people in the audience, when I talk about criminal thinking, often can't grasp it. They can't understand because they simply can't relate. I don't relate to this. I don't relate to a person like J.D. Vance making these claims. I have to assume he knows better. I don't know how he couldn't. He's an educated guy, right? He's got to know that. But then again, this is the guy that spread the lie that Haitians were eating pets. And they had no problem doing that, and their followers had no problem with that. It's similar to when Obama was president, you get to keep your doctor. No, you don't. But he said it, and nobody cared that he lied, or at least not his followers didn't care. The people that are now on the left criticize Trump for violating the Constitution by going to war. They defended Obama when he was bombing Libya without congressional authorization. And my mind just doesn't function that way. It's also, there's an uptick in another article that religion among males is on the rise. And Persephone and I did a show the other day about male loneliness. I don't know if it's related, but male religiosity is on the rise. These things all suck, in my view. And there's a lot that sucks. But let me tell you what doesn't suck. I've got people in this audience right now that are looking for a better way, that are applying a better way, that are committed to reason. And those things are worth celebrating, right? It's easy to get bogged down in all the nonsense. It really is. And I know, believe me, it happens to me on a semi-daily basis or even on a daily basis. But I do know, and in my normal life as I walk around, I'm a happy person because advocating for capitalism is good. Advocating for freedom is good. And being that it's good, it makes me happy to do so. It makes me happy to interact with the people in this audience, even when they disagree with me, as long as, I mean, if they're like, I like numbers and just come on just to kiss Trump's ass. No, I don't like that. But when you're making arguments, I like that. Those are good things. The fact that we do have people to interact with is a good thing. The fact that there are people out there that still want freedom is a good thing. So there are a lot of good things out there. And I was thinking about this, and maybe we can get some feedback. I think that it's easy. I shouldn't say easy. I think that I'm very good at arguing at a high philosophical level for the objectivist ethics, right? I won most of the debates I've had on the topic. But I don't know that winning the debate at that level brings the average person to an idea or to accepting egoism or self-interest as their ethical guide. And I've been thinking about this. How do you communicate that self-interest is good without getting bogged down into complex arguments about the origin of value, about the different types of value, about the history of ethics, et cetera, et cetera? For instance, I mean, I could throw it out to somebody and just say, listen, you matter, your life matters, your happiness matters. But that's an assertion. It's not an argument. I can also point out, if you don't look out for yourself, nobody's gonna. If you don't do that, you're going to end up miserable. But that's not really the ethical argument either. And you can point out, well, why, if it's okay to take care of somebody else, is it not okay to take care of yourself? I think these are all decent points. But I don't know that they convey, or I know they don't convey what we're trying to convey. So I'm looking for some help in coming up with ways to bring the objectivist ethics down to common sense, everyday language without diluting it or misrepresenting it. It may not be possible, but I'm still looking for help doing it. So if anybody has any suggestions, I, for one, would be very happy. Mr. Deagle says maybe package it as a self-improvement guide for people who want to live happy lives. That's a great idea, Mr. Deagle. Unfortunately, Jim Valiant and I have been doing that on the Rational Egoist podcast. So anybody that's interested in using objectivism for the very purpose of self-improvement and for a guide to happiness can go check it out. It's there's already a playlist for it. We're not done with it yet, but it's still wonderful. So go check it out. Please go check it out. All right, so what else do we got here? Oh, we have J.D. Vance also said this, by the way. Let's just throw this out there. This is from Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House. Our rights do not derive from the government. They come, and he's looking up at the sky, I guess. They come from you, our Creator and Heavenly Father. Okay, dude, you're talking to clouds at this point, right? You're talking to clouds, and you're saying thank you for the rights. No, that's not where rights come from. Rights are a function of human beings and of the needs that we have as human beings. It's all right here in reality. We can see it. We don't need to invent things. We don't need to look up at the sky. Like, what are you doing, dude? I mean, you're the Speaker of the House of the United States of America, and you're looking up at the fucking clouds and thanking them for giving you rights. We can do better. Well, maybe he can't. I can do better. Anyhow, so there's a great article today. I don't know about great, but there's an article in Reason Magazine about politicians that want to tax the rich. And it's got here Bernie Sanders, Mamdani, Cortez, Elizabeth Warren, and I guess they were all at this big gala. They're, criticizing billionaires, talking them that, the billionaires are evil. Nobody gets rich honestly. You can't get that rich honestly. You can't do this honestly. Just, going after these people. And I was wondering, I'm like, well, I wonder if these are common, common views. there's another guy. See, this guy just commented on my Facebook post or an X post. I embarrassed this dickhead so bad twice in debates. I felt bad for him, and I said, you don't even have to post them because they were on his show. And he just keeps coming back. And it's like, dude, I don't even want to talk to you. Like, go away. Go away. Okay. Anyways, so let me see if I can't find the poll numbers on this. All right, so a 2021 Pew Research survey says that 29% of Americans said it's a bad thing for the country that some people have personal fortunes of $1 billion or more, and only 15% called it a good thing. 2020 Pew, 65% attributed richness mainly to advantages in life rather than hard work. 18% in 2026 of Americans said being extremely rich is morally wrong. There was a Harris poll in 2025. 53% view billionaires as a threat. An Economist YouGov poll, 80% said wealth inequality is a very big or somewhat big problem. 62% said billionaires are taxed too little, and 80% said the rich have too much political power. And there's a bunch of other polls as well, but I think you get the drift. So there's a few things I think that drive the hatred of billionaires. And there's the go-to for me. I mean, of course, envy is one. You know, people are envious that they haven't achieved something, so they hate people that have it. I think that's, of course, is part of it. I think the ethic of, altruism or just in other selflessness, the idea that doing for others is good and making money is bad. That's the Christian notion about rich people and the camel and all that nonsense. That's part of it. I think it's also the demagoguery of the politicians, quite frankly, who are constantly out there talking about this, about the evil billionaires, the millionaires and the billionaires. And I also think that part of it is because, well, then you don't have to be here. Go away. That's something I don't understand either. Like, I never go by somebody's stuff, whether it be a reel, a post, whatever, and just say, oh, this is just stupid. I don't like this. But people do that. That's fair. Like, I don't know why would someone waste their time doing that? That's very, very, very strange, if you ask me. But anyways, I thank you for the view. If you want to stick around and just add to my viewership, that'd be great. I'd appreciate that. You can put all your stupid comments over there. That'd be wonderful. But I think that a big part of the problem is, and it's an interesting dynamic because the problem arose because of what a majority of people want. We end up with a system where the government has the power to grant favors. They have the power to create legislation in favor of their pals. They can give out subsidies. They can give out loans, all things that people, have supported directly or indirectly, that's gotten us here. But I think when that happens, people tend to think, and in a lot of cases rightly so, that the government is putting its foot on the scale for some people and helping them to get rich while screwing other people. This is undoubtedly true. But the answer to that is not to hate billionaires, not to tax billionaires more. It's to tax everybody less, regulate less, take power away from the government, not grant it more, which is normally the suggestion. So there's that. I'm looking at Persephone and she's just staring into the wind. She's got nothing for me. We also... Anti-Semitism. Oh, no. I wanted to talk about this. There's an article in Jacobin, yes, Mark Pellegrino's favorite, about central planning and how central planning does not work. Now, interesting, it says socialism has a future, central planning doesn't. Okay, perfect instance of people who their worldview fails miserably, and instead of rethinking their worldview, they say, oh, no, the worldview's fine. It's just this part that was implemented that needs to go. where you're going to be okay. How you're going to have socialism without central planning, I have no idea. But whatever. So, you know. Robin Hireen says these people aren't upset the government is making certain people rich. They just feel the government is making the wrong people rich. That may be so, but I still say that there's legitimate criticism of the government in that regard that, could be, what's the word I'm looking for? Influencing people to feel that way. So of course, in this article, they differentiate between central planning and local planning. And if there's 50 states with 50 different planners, it's technically not central planning. But at the level of the state, of course, you have central planning. I don't know. They talk about how it's good to study the Soviet system because of what a failure it was. Unless I missed it, because I got to admit, I skipped a few paragraphs because this was excruciating to read, this article. And I had to go to emissions this morning, where the government makes you go do something and you have to pay for it. But I saw no mention of Mises in here, the person who demonstrated that economic calculation under socialism is impossible. This person that's they're talking to, Vivek Chibber, actually says that a computer could solve the information problem, but it can't solve the incentive problem involved with central planning. And then at the end of the article, this is just rich to me. I think it's just freaking wonderful. I have to scroll down. It's about an hour-long article, I think, or 45 minutes. So the headline is Lessons Learned. And the question is, what do you think leftists should learn from the failure of fully planned economies? That's the problem, the fully planned economy. And Vivek says what they should learn is that the burden of proof is on us, on the left, if we want to continue with this slogan of replacing the market with the plan. The burden of proof is on us to show that it can work. You might say that along with this ought to come a kind of humility about facts and about the world. One of the consequences of the abject defeat of the left over the past 40 years is that it's retreated into these very tiny little groupsicles, or even worse, online chats, because they have no power, because they can't change anything. They have the luxury of sticking to belief as religious commitments. They stick to their guns because they really are just seeking affirmation. But if you're going to start moving things in the world, if you're actually going to get to the point where you can think about shaping society, it would be criminally negligent to ignore the experience of decades upon decades of planning and say to yourself, well, that wasn't my vision of socialism, so I'm going to ignore it. But problem is, that's exactly what she's doing. He's doing. It sucks, dude. Socialism sucks. The commie who was in the audience who said that this podcast or this show is dog shit. No, sir. It's your socialism that's dog shit. You confess that the information problem is real. You confess that the incentive problem is real. You confess that the system has failed. And then you come about and say, well, we just need to advocate it differently, but don't say it wasn't my type of socialism. So what are you going to do? Say, yes, that is the socialism that I favored in the past, but I now favor a different type of socialism. Yeah, no, thank you. No, I don't want that. I don't want it. No. It's immoral, it's uneconomical, and if you don't recognize that, you're either uninformed or or dumb, or the third option, a lying commie, which might just be a redundancy at this point. Okay. There's an article today. Let me find it here. I think it's way back at the beginning. Nope. See, this is when I have Persephone to help me with this. It's wonderful. It's about we've crossed the. Oh, nope, that's not it either. Okay, from Axios, we've crossed the Rubicon when it comes to anti-Semitism. It says there's an explosion of anti-Semitism. There's numerous politicians and whatnot that are getting anti-Semitic messages. I, of course, have talked about in the past that I've seen this online over and over again, the normalization of this type of Jew hatred. Rand Paul's son, I guess, was going off about Jews and now says he needs to get some help with his liquor problem. Oh, God. Studies do show that there's an uptick in violence against Jews, anti-Semitic attitudes. That stuff's all there for you to read. I think Persephone's going to post it or already posted it. Yeah, she gave me the thumbs up, so that's great. So a lot of the time what I'll see is this differentiation of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. This is a neat trick, and I'm going to tell you why. Because it's literally true that criticism of Israel or even dislike of Israel or dislike of America's alliance with Israel is conceptually different from not liking Jews, right? There's Jews that are practicing Jews that dislike Israel. So they are kept conceptually distinct. However, the anti-Semites take advantage of this to hide behind anti-Israel sentiment when the real attack is against the Jews. It's the Jews that they really hate. It's the Jews they really dislike, right? But they may not want to say that, so then they say, oh, just because I'm criticizing Israel, you say I'm an anti-Semite. So to combat it, you have to be conceptually precise, right? Acknowledge, no, it's not Jew hatred to criticize Israel. But what does that have to do with your claims about Jews running banks, Hollywood, and the media? What does that have to do with criticizing Israel? If you're arguing it's Israel that controls those things, then you could still direct your criticism at Israel. You don't have to direct it at Jews. Similarly with anything else you want, whether it be AIPAC or anything else. If those are truly the targets of your ire, then you could stick to that, but they don't. It bleeds over into their hatred of Jews. For instance, if you see a comment like, I've seen a few of them lately, the best thing to do to make anti-Semitism would go away is for Israel to stop bombing people. So so it's the Jew in America's problem or fault because of something that's going on halfway around the world. That's nothing to say of the morality, or I don't want to get into that right now, to the righteousness of Israel's cause, because it's really not my point. My point has to do with Jew hatred that's on the rise, and contrary to the statements of people on either side of the aisle, it's on both sides of the aisle. I see it on both sides of the aisle, so I know it's there on both sides of the aisle. It's age-old. I don't think it's going away, but I do think it can be combated. I think that we have to be honest about it taking place. And what's the word I'm looking for, Persephone? Disavow it wherever we may happen to see it. Right, Persephone? Look alive, Persephone. I see Persephone. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, so that's what I think. I think it's okay to critique Israel. And I think it's okay to critique the Jewish religion, too, by the way. I think to hate Jewish people or to hate people with Jewish ancestry who, identify as Jews but maybe not be religious is sickening, right? It doesn't mean you can't criticize the Bible. I do all the time. It doesn't mean you can't criticize Israel. I will again. But it does mean that we don't accept irrational hatred from these evil bastards and bitches. Let's be honest, because some of them are women, right? So anyways, what's next? What the hell? What can I pivot to now? I've gone through everything. This is the problem when you have me by myself. So I've just done 40 minutes of content, right? So if you had somebody else talking as much as I do, that would be 120 minutes. No, I'm sorry. That would be 80 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes of content. But instead, it's just me doing this, and now I look like a schmuck because I'm out of things to talk about. So let me think of something. I'm going to try to come up with a topic. I don't want to talk about emissions again. That's kind of boring. We did a great show over the weekend, by the way, with Megan Ribbons on biology. Not on biology. We're going to be doing some stuff with her on biology. Over the weekend, what we did was on education. It's going to be part of a series. Megan's a rock star, PhD, very smart, very affable, very good on TV or computer screen, phone, whatever. I don't know. So, yeah, I highly recommend you check that out. Persephone's laughing, and I don't know why. Maybe we can ask her. What? Why are you laughing?
It's just the way you're fumbling your words. It's very good on TV, computer.
Well, I don't know what
PC,
the hell you call it.
laptop.
So I'm trying to figure out. So I got to go to Pittsburgh in September for the American Capitalist Party convention. So to drive there, look at this, $5 euro from Katrin. Thank you, Katrin, so very, very much.
€5.
€5, not $5 euro. I know. Yeah. Okay, so I looked into this. So it's an 11-hour train or bus ride, which I'm not interested in. But it's a 7-hour car ride. No, also not interested. Plus, I don't have a car that would make it that far. So, and Carlos, my buddy, he's speaking, so we're going to go together. He has a new car that he leased, right? He leased the car, but he only gets 10,000 miles a year, and this would just take off almost 1,000 of that, so he doesn't want to do that. So we decided now we're going to fly. But here's the problem with this. The two of us flying or anything else is we're both idiots. So, like, neither one of us is very worldly. Now, we're going to figure it out, but I'm not. He's telling me, I've flown before. I have too. And he's telling me, don't worry about it. But whenever I get mixed up with him, it goes awry. It doesn't end up like it's supposed to. So, I'm a little concerned.
What would this, just out of curiosity, what would the struggle be? Like, why would it be difficult?
Well, we have to find the best tickets for the best, the best prices. We've got to find the airline that's going to deliver us where we need to go. Then, of course, there's the whole baggage situation. Now, he says we just bring online carry. I don't know if that's going to work, but that's what he says. It might, I don't know. Maybe it will. Then there's the situation of actually, once we get there, getting our stuff, finding our way to the hotel, that sort of thing. Yeah, so Kara Felix points this out. So I'm with Diana and Carlos, and we're trying to find a place to eat in Carlos's city where he grew up. And so we're trying to find, what is it now, Thai food. And Carlos says, I know this place. And I said to Diana, do not listen to him. And he's like, I've lived here. I know where the place is. And I'm telling her, don't listen to him. He's going to get us lost. And she says, no, I won't. I believe him. You think that we got our way to the place? No, we got lost. I mean, this is also the guy who was trying to describe somebody to me in prison. And he says, the black guy who wears the tans, he drinks coffee. That's like 80% of the population. So I'm not exactly confident, but he also said, no, we should take the bus, and that way we can do a lot of sightseeing. And I'm like, dude, the bus doesn't stop so you can go look around. What do you think this is?
You could sightsee out of the window.
That's not what he's talking about. Yeah, I can look out the window. Look at the tree.
Yeah, no, I can't. I can't do long rides like that. But also, can't you just get like a travel agent?
I'm gonna have Diana. She's gonna figure it out for us. I'm just not confident that when Carlos and I start doing it, it's gonna work out okay. But it's okay if it doesn't, because then I get to make fun of him, and that will be fun.
We get to make fun of you.
You do get to make fun of me. Ian Gilmore says to talk about the Trump $1.7 billion slush fund. It's now real and fully announced. I don't even know what that is. I got to be honest with you. I've seen a lot of stuff in the media, and I really don't follow it about all the corruption involving Trump. And the reason I don't is because whenever I've looked into this stuff in the past, it gets to be very, very complex, and I just don't care to go into it. I assume they're all corrupt. And to me, the stuff that Trump does on the surface is so bad that I don't really need to look into his finances. But maybe you could tell us what it's about, Persephone.
the Justice Department announces a $1.7 billion anti-weaponization fund to compensate Trump allies. The Trump administration on Monday announced the creation of a $1.7 billion fund to compensate allies of the Republican president who believe they were mistreated by the Biden administration Justice Department. The Anti-Weaponization Fund was announced as part of a deal to resolve President Trump's lawsuit against the IRS over the leak of his tax returns. The fund, so Todd Blanche said in announcing the fund in a statement that it was a lawful process for victims of lawfare and weaponization to be heard and seek redress. Democrats and government watchdogs immediately pledged to fight what they called a corrupt and unprecedented resolution, warning that the arrangement would unjustly enrich people close to the president with taxpayer dollars and open the door to meritless claims of political persecution. The fund would represent not only a highly unorthodox resolution, but also a further demonstration of the administration's eagerness to award allies who, before Trump came to power, were investigated and in some cases charged and convicted. Most notably, the president on his first day back in office pardoned or commuted the sentences of supporters who rioted on January 6th.
Somebody just told me I'm an idiot for thinking that our military is being depleted by this war.
Well, life is tiring.
A lot of the times I notice that these are old people, and all I can picture is these old people staring at Fox News, yelling at the TV.
Yeah, but that is generally what happened.
So Ian Gilmore says, in other words, the money will go to January 6 rioters who committed political violence on Trump's behalf. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's really, really gross. Badly.
Yeah. So this is like a fairly recent development. Like, this is like really new news. How do you even wrap your mind around a president doing something like that? With that much money.
I don't.
But the people who support that, like, what is your reasoning?
Because they buy all the bullshit. That's why. So people believe that Trump is really the victim. Somebody actually said to me yesterday that when Trump's challenging of the election in 2020, that nothing was different about that. Nothing was unique about it. Other presidents have challenged results in the past. Slating different electors. It's all normal. Like, what are you talking about? Because they listen to him and they believe it. I don't know. I can't believe that I'm living in a world where this is what's happening. And I have to think that it was always this way, and I just didn't know it because I was too young or I was in prison. I can't imagine that it's really just all of the sudden we have people who think this way.
I don't know. Maybe it is, but it feels like it's gotten so much worse. Maybe it's just with the rise of the internet and how much easier people are able to communicate and share their dumb ideas.
But that's not what I mean.
Make it feel like it's worse.
Okay. Yes, that might be the case. But I'm talking in terms of epistemology, in terms of the manner in which people form their beliefs, their opinions. I can't.
That's definitely been impacted by the sheer amount of noise
hold on.
And nonsense.
So you think that prior to, let's say, 10 years ago, I don't know, whatever, pick a number. That
20.
20 years ago, that people were on average far more careful about their sources of information. They double checked, fact checked. They wanted to know if their sourcing was right. They weren't as tribal. I mean, is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I think that people have always been the way that they are now. But the fact of the matter is that there's so much more nonsense and misinformation for them to absorb.
Well, that I don't disagree with.
Yeah. So it seems worse because 20, 25 years ago, there wasn't as much misinformation. So it was more difficult to form a completely heinous opinion because there were no echo chambers. You had to like really, really be dedicated to search out an echo chamber. But now, because there's so much misinformation and because it's so easy to like back up your opinion by saying, well, there's 100 other people that think the same thing. And there's, all of these forum posts and all of these people on Twitter agree with me. It's so much easier to form an opinion that you genuinely believe is true, even though it's bullshit. Even though some fact checking would prove that it's not. You have 100 people tweeting and agreeing with you, so it makes it easier to form batty opinions. And also it's easier to see how insane other people are, because 30 years ago you didn't know what your neighbor was thinking about in his spare time. But now if you have the misfortune of stumbling across his Twitter account, you know that he has insane opinions. So you didn't know how crazy the world was, but now you know, because people want to shove their opinion down your throat. And it's almost impossible, if you are on Facebook or on Instagram or on any kind of social media, which you need to be to keep in touch with your friends usually, if you're on social media, it's impossible not to see the insane things that other people post.
Ingrid C says the education system wasn't so egregious 20 years ago. I don't know. As long as I've been alive, I've been hearing about how horrible the education system is. I suppose it could be getting worse, though. She might be onto something. All right. So the other day, the question I asked is, when there's a movie and a book, which do you generally think is better? Greg Doherty says, great episode. Jenna Kleem says, I always read the book first. I prefer the book since it allows me to process slowly and use my imagination more. Greg Doherty says, if the book is good, the book is better. However, weak books can be made into enjoyable movies. For example, Jaws was fun to watch, but can't imagine reading a book with that plot. And Megan Ribbon says that Mark and I are adorable when we bicker like old married couple.
True. My answer to that question is, it depends. Okay, sometimes great. The movie is better, or the TV show.
Thanks for your contribution. You've added tremendously.
You're so welcome. You are so welcome.
Okay, so anyways, capitalist thought of the day. Oh, God, I'm exhausted. Capitalist thought of the day. What should we talk about, Persephone? Let me think of something. So we've got war, we've got socialism, anti-Semitism, we even had the religious thing. What binds them all together? One word: irrationality. The irrationality that we are up against is impressive. Fortunately, irrationality really can't accomplish anything because, well, it's irrational. So what we need to do is continue to be rational. We need to make rational points, but even more than that, because that makes it sound like being rational is about convincing other people. What we need to be rational about in the end is our own lives. We need to address our everyday existences, our jobs, our relationships with reason. We need to use our rational faculty to live the best lives possible for us. That is the best thing that we can possibly do. And with that, I'll give it to Persephone, and she can ask a question.
Okay. My question is, what's a hobby that you'd like to pick up? Not a hobby that you currently have, a hobby that you'd like to start. And I weirdly feel like we've asked that before. I don't care. Even if we have, asking it again. That's my question. What's a hobby you'd like to pick up?
What is a hobby you'd like to pick up? Ice fishing. All right, folks, we're out. We will be on at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time with Everyday Ethics, 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be doing crime, corrections, and culture right on this channel. We hope to see you there. If we don't see you there on the Rational Alternative channel, we will see you back here tomorrow. No, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you. I will not be here tomorrow. Tomorrow there will be no shows because I'm going to New York. All right, awesome. I love you guys. Have a great couple days. See you in 47 hours. Until then, please check your